Welcome to the finale of Gradius 2. Now the last 4 stages can trip you up if you're not too careful. Also note that in the Japanese version, if you die and lose all of your men, it's back to stage 1. There are no continues in the Japanese version of Gradius 2. The next level is a staple within the Gradius franchise. A random as hell stage with Easter Island heads that shoot out radioactive Cheerios. Or at least I perceived them to be radioactive Cheerios. The Moai heads here are docile, but once we get further into the level, that's when they'll turn red and shoot more aggressively. Gotta be careful when that happens. This stage is a good example of trying to have your power meter highlighting shield at all times. I mentioned this in part 1, but the shield is going to be on the farthermost right tab of the power meter. The good thing about the nuclear spaghettios is that you can actually shoot them down, so you don't have to worry about getting trapped. I was thinking one thing, Gradius 1 may have put the series on the map, but Gradius 2 shaped the series into what it is today, well, if they ever make any more games again. I found that in later Gradius games, they use a lot more tropes from this title than they do the first game or even Life Force, which is kinda odd, if I do say so myself. But hey, it's a sequel, and sequels are supposed to be an improvement over the original, in most cases. I'm not gonna say all cases, but in most cases. And that was a thing. Did we really need a Last of Us 2? I don't know. Anyway, I don't judge. Yet. But getting back to what's going on screen, the Moais are shooting a bit more aggressively now, and you're gonna have to weave in and out of shots and shoot down those little bagel things. I keep calling them different things. You can use your options to shield yourself a little. As long as you're constantly firing, you should be safe, even though your force field itself can still suffer, but the big Viper can still be fine. So you actually got 2 bosses for this level. The first boss is just 4 Easter Island heads. You shoot them in the mouths. And the second boss is, or I should say are, 3 Moai heads attached to the ceiling, wall, and the floor. You shoot the wall's mouth. Be careful of those little pod enemies that pop up from behind, they will flood the screen with bullets. So what's your opinion on the Gradius games? Do you think it's an alright shooter, or do you think there are better games out there? Like I said before, I personally think this is probably my favorite shooter of all time, only because I played it so many times, so I don't know. And if you do like the series, what's your favorite? And yes, I do count games like Scramble and Life Force because they have the same characters as in the Gradius games, and they even reference it in the Gradius games, so why not include those? I'm just gonna skip over that option just so that Hunter with the Siren doesn't come back. And here's everyone's favorite level, the speed up section, or as I like to call it, Too Fast, Too Gradius, starring Vin Diesel. What's wrong? If Vin Diesel could race a car, surely he can pilot a starfighter that's capable of light speed travel. I mean, come on. This section though is a lot tamer compared to most other speed up sections in the series. It's all about you having to memorize where to go in order to not get trapped, and also watch out for the turns too because they lead their shots. I also recommend speeding up your aircraft one more time in order to like get down the corridors easier. And wait, did I just call Vic Viper an aircraft? What the fuck is wrong with me? And for the next section, you want to get to the right of the screen as soon as possible, as 3 doors will come and try to slam down on you. Like so. I'm not gonna lie, this boss here is a pushover. Probably because the previous stage was so hard, he just shoots lasers straight ahead, and there's a large window to dodge, so if you get hit, it's really kind of your fault. And also he's super weak too, so he goes down in like literally 3 shots. Oh boy, it's boss rush time. Woohoo! But no, seriously, if there's one tradition that really needs to die in Gradius games, it's a boss rush. Because why do they exist? Why do they exist? And dying here is a pain in the ass too, because it's like you got these power-ups that spawn sporadically and sometimes on top of you. And that's not fun. You got this guy from the first game who pretty much follows the same pattern as the way he did before, except he likes to ram into you a lot. And you don't have the luxury of him self-destructing after a set amount of time, so there's that. The brain guy from Salamander/Life Force, his pattern is literally the same as what he did before.
Shoot it in the eye.
Also from Life Force, but instead of vertical scrolling like he was presented in the previous game, he's presented in a horizontal scrolling in this one. His pattern is pretty much the same.
Point shield.
This boss can be kinda sporadic. Watch where the lasers go for this one.
Shoot it in the eye.
And lastly, the Fire Dragon. I just have him loop around me so I can have an easier time shooting him. He'll split into 3 like miniature dragons, and you have to shoot those too.
Shoot it in the head.
And now for the main boss of this little boss rush, this cycle thing that shoots out missiles. Pay attention to your hitbox, you can get killed really easily here. And great thing is that if you do die, you start back on the boss you died at. The ripple lasers are not my friend here. It keeps on hitting the shell. So yeah, this influx of enemies is a test of patience, but if you get past it, you're on to the final level. I honestly would say that this is the toughest boss in the game, mainly because he's throwing all these missiles at you and he takes a long time to kill. Like, holy crap, how many hits does this guy take? And I know I have Ripple, but he even takes long with the straight lasers. And there we go, he's dead. Good. That guy comes back in Gradius 3 and he's just as annoying. Honestly, I think he's even more annoying in Gradius 3, because everything's more annoying in Gradius 3. But anyway, we're on to the final stage, and this is where the game just throws all logic out the window and wants you dead. So, be prepared. Really good music though. I gotta say, the final stages have really catchy themes to them.
Force field.
This stage has a bunch of tight corridors filled with enemies and turrets. Be especially careful of the walkers that come from behind. The two-way missiles really help out for the ground enemies. And this part's annoying too because you got enemies that spawn out of nowhere and most likely on top of you too, so you gotta know where to be when they spawn in. These heat-seeking rock meteor metal things come back in Gradius 3 for some reason. I don't know why. I didn't know they were that big of a threat. Well, they actually are. This next boss is a pain in the ass. Make sure you get out of the center of the screen so that eye thing doesn't kill you, and destroy the turrets as soon as you can. The reason why is that the screen will be flooded with bullets quickly, and you also have walkers to deal with, so you gotta destroy those, and you gotta destroy the turrets really quickly, as well as the core. Alright, we did it. On to the final stretch of the game. This part is simple. You got the ceiling and walls starting to move as to simulate some sort of earthquake. So just read where they're going and you should be fine. And they'll never move in such a way where they'll crush you in between the screen and the wall. So that's something.
Force field.
Now this next part can be kinda torturous. You got this giant spider that hogs up a bit of screen, to be honest, and you also got walkers that try to shoot at you. It's gonna be a mess, that's all I can say. And as you will see in a few seconds, I lose a life for ironically getting crushed by the spider. Interesting. I'm not quite sure, but I think you can kill the spider in the Famicom version of this game, but not in the arcade version for whatever reason. And there are times where the spider will just randomly change direction like that, as if to say he's forgotten his wallet. And that bites me in the ass, actually. Well shit, I fucked up there. Don't worry, this isn't the end of the game. I do get by. This checkpoint isn't really that hard. You just have to dodge the bullets somehow. And that's the consequence of dying. You're now in a snail-paced ship with no means of defending yourself, really. You just have to get lucky. Move to the right of the screen so you don't get trapped, even though it's kind of hard to do as that door is really slow. And here's Gopher, who does literally nothing. Why is he the antagonist of this game again? But that's Gradius tradition though, as there's a final boss that does nothing and is usually brain dead. Literally, as you're shooting a brain. Even though I failed to beat this in one life, I did manage to beat it in one credit, which is, it's pretty good since I never did that before. But no, I recommend people play this game, though it's really cool. Anyway, my name is Don, and I'll see you guys later.
Destroy them all. You games are not practice.